NFR.
NFR Extra is a podcast dedicated to the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo and features icons and personalities that embody the Western lifestyle.
How I made that through was
right.
My faith in God first and foremost was because I knew where I was and where I was going to end up, where I am going to end up, and that's what I constantly fall back on, and it's not something I say, it's something I really believe. You know, I always used to have a saying: "Look good, feel good, rope good." Well, after I got a little bit older, it was look good, smell good, rope good. I threw the feel good out because I knew that wasn't going to happen anymore. I had a friend tell me one time, he said, "I know y'all are weird with Venaclaus," and that's the vet that does all the horse cloning. He said, "Y'all cloned Jennifer, didn't you?" Because she's so much like her mother. It's crazy.
This is pro rodeo announcer Andy Seiler, and you are listening to NFR Extra.
How's your world treating you?
Man, it's good. It's all good. We're just going just like everybody else, going and fast forward.
Yeah.
Going fast. Yeah. Going fast.
Yeah. That was kind of your MO back in the day, and it seems like life is continuing to do that. And
yes, sir.
The more time goes by, it doesn't seem to slow down. I don't know if it's technology or what it is, but it just seems getting faster and faster.
That's what my granddad told me. He said, the older you get, the faster it'll go. So,
yeah. Holy cow.
Right. He was right.
A little bit of slowdown.
Yes.
What's your world looking like these days?
Oh man, we just finished a book, and we're fixing to launch the book in Vegas. We're actually going to release the book on Cyber Monday, and then we are going to unveil it on Friday, December the 6th at Cowboy Christmas on Flint's show. We're just fixing to open a concept store, our first STS concept store. We've just been a wholesale company. We sell to other retailers. Right. Well, we decided we were going to open a concept store here in Childress, kind of for a three-part deal. One for offices for Jennifer, where we don't have 500 sample handbags around in this house. So we moved everything for her office, her design studio, all the media stuff there. But we're doing the concept store. And then we have, got a big warehouse in it that we're going to have community events in, like what we did out at Vegas when we had an Elevation Sunday, where we would bring in a guest speaker and just speak life into the contestants. Well, we're going to do that for our community here. That's
right.
With that place. And now with the book, we're also going to start our own podcast, myself and the Colonel. And so we're now, so the fourth part of it is we're putting a podcast studio in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah. We covered a lot of ground. Speaking of fast, covered a lot of ground at a rapid rate, but go back to that book, man. And what's that book about, and where did that whole idea come from?
Well, it was one of those things that I met he's a retired Army colonel, and he does the leadership part of he speaks a lot at different conferences, for different groups, for different Division I athletic programs, different Fortune 500 companies, and just to help them to really dig in to know how to, what systems work best for them, and just a leadership coach and right. A coach. And so he and I had always joked back and forth with each other. My boys went to a quarterback and receiving academy when they were in high school. And that's where I met him and got to meet these guys. And we really started bouncing things off of each other. And we learned that Jennifer's like, he does that. They're doing the same thing that you do at your camps, where it's not just about the student teaching them how to rope, but you're more of a life coach than you are a roping coach. And not just that, but for the students, for the kids, but for the parents also. And so once I saw the similarities and all the things that we were doing the same, we developed this friendship. And he flippantly said one day, he said, we're going to write a book one of these days. I'm like, oh, yeah. And so one day he does a radio show in Austin, and he put it on the air, and he said, yeah, me and this cowboy from Texas is going to write from Children's Texas, going to write a leadership book. And he called me, and he's like, hey, it's out there. We've got to do it. And I'm like, what's out there? He said, we got to write the book. I'm like, oh no, really? So anyway, we decided to do the book, and it took off from there, and it morphed into something really that I didn't really foresee the way it was going to be. It turned into more of my career story, of turning tragedy into triumph kind of a deal, and having a mission, a change of mission mindset. That's one of the chapters, but that was basically what my career was, a change of mission mindset, where whenever things happen that you don't foresee coming at you, you have to have a change of mission mindset. And that's very military. I didn't know those terms back when I was in 96, whenever Sean got killed by a drunk driver, when we were going from one rodeo to another, and we lost him, and I didn't know and really realize, and it just kind of steps through my career and how you mature, and you get to see how God moved in my life, and how he brought the right people at the right time in my life, and how his word was kind of lived out through my career, and just how it was one of those things that it was, they kind of say it's kind of the Rocky story of eventually in 2008 winning the world championship, and by being that close, and with all the different things, the stroke, the shoulder injuries, the hip injuries, the knees, the losing a horse, losing Sean, losing my granddad, and all those different things that come at everybody goes through things in life. And it's, they say life is mainly, it's not about what happens to you in your life. It's how you react to it. And just how it's just so important to people that surrounded me and have always pushed me to be better and do better, starting with my parents and my wife, and just all the people that have been speaking life into me for so long, and how many people it took to help me to be able to reach this one little goal of being a world champion, and how much bigger of an impact it had in our lives and so many other lives just by watching the journey. And so that's kind of what the book we stepped through. There's 12 chapters of different things, of different leadership tactics that you use, and that you are that have worked in our careers. Him 25 years in special forces, in the special ops training, of how he watched some of the most real elite people in the world, and how they put these strategies and tactics into work. And so that's basically what we're showing and trying to, and it's not just for athletes or just people that are trying to be a world champion, but it's for everybody. There's something for everybody. Anybody that wants to be better today than they were yesterday, to be able to look for the positive instead of the negative, to constantly be pushing yourself to do better and be better for not just ourselves, but for the next generation.
Right. So I got to try not to interrupt you because you're on a roll on that deal. But with all the accolades and everything that you got, I mean, you've got a beautiful family. You're a great looking guy. You're talented. You've got a skill set, and people can look from the outside and be like, oh man, this guy's got it all and it must be easy. And then like you're talking about you've got a goal in mind, right? And everything seems like you can go, you made a comment a while back that like everybody's got their issues. Everybody's got stuff that, that happens. Okay. Well, yeah, like losing a close friend, people can relate to that sort of a deal. Like maybe you have an injury or something that's set back. But when you're talking about real life, like threatening your life can end, like a stroke sort of a deal that you went through, how in the world do you, like, where did your strength come from? Where was your mentality at? What was your rehabilitation process like? I mean, because that's a major deal.
Yeah. It's amazing how my faith, if you want to, how I made that through was
right.
My faith in God first and foremost was because I knew where I was and where I was going to end up, where I am going to end up. And that's what I constantly fall back on. And it's not something that I really, it's not something I say, it's something I really believe. And then next is the people that have surrounded me. You know, I said one time in an interview, I was like, whoa, that doesn't really sound like me. And I said, if you surround yourself by great people, you should expect great things from yourself. And I truly believe that. I think some of the best people in this world have been people that have spoke life into me, that have been there to back me, to push me, to help me to be the best version of me that I can be. And so, as far as the stroke goes, whenever at the time I was at the top of my career, I was 32 years old. I was at prime, I thought, of my life.
Right.
And all of a sudden I had this stroke, and not only did they tell me that, I was going to have to quit roping, but they also told me that probably they're going to put me on medication. I'm going to have to completely change my lifestyle, which for me, that means quit being me. I mean, I'm probably more reckless of going to Walmart and pushing a cart down the aisle than most people are. That's just kind of my mentality. So everything's going to have to change. No more riding, no more roping, no more ranch stuff. I'm like, whoa, what in the world? Now they're going to put me on these strong blood thinners. And then with more research, Jennifer just dug in there, just like she always does with everything. And she wasn't satisfied with just that's the only option. So when we did, the research showed us that you're going to probably have another stroke, and the next one's probably worse than this one. And so we're like, well, there's got to be other options. Well, between her and Tandy Freeman, they found two doctors in Boston that were doing experimental surgery to close. And what the stroke was caused from, it's called a PFO, patent foraminovalle. And it's a hole in your heart where the two chambers don't close. And so whenever these two chambers don't close, whenever you take your first breath, it allows this hole to where there could be a blood clot pass through. And then, of course, if a blood clot passes through, and it can hit your brain. And just fortunate for me that this blood clot hit the part of my brain that just affected my speech. So I lost my speech. Nothing else. I didn't lose any motor skills. I didn't lose any sight. That was the only thing. And in about 36 hours, I started getting my speech back. And then still it's 95% back. Sometimes I'll slur words or whatever, but just slow down whenever I'm talking usually. But I was 32 years old, and Jennifer and I had been married for a couple of years. Well, we had waited, obviously, till we were older to get married and then to have kids. And so she was pregnant with Stone, our first son, in the middle of this. I think she was 4 or 5 months pregnant. And if I say the fear, it really wasn't fear, but I would be lying if I didn't say I was a little fearful of this. The thing that gave me an uneasy feeling was my son, which I had poured my life into kids, and my own son was going to have a chance of me not being here when he was born. And I thought, man, I had a lot of talks with the Lord about this. I'm like, Lord, I don't understand that. But I came to the realization in a shower on my hands and knees in Boston in a hotel room that night before I'm going to have experimental heart surgery of the Lord. I really feel like this in my spirit. He spoke this to me. Hey, it's going to be all right. And this is what the word I got from me was, if I'm not meant to, if I did go on, because I know that God works in all things for those who love him, who've been called according to his purpose. I knew that his purpose was greater than anything that I could know, and his plan was bigger than anything that I could imagine. And I told Jennifer, I came out of the shower and I said, listen, I got to have a talk with you. She's like, what's wrong? And I said, if I don't make it off that operating table in the morning, you have to know this. I'm completely at peace with this. There will be something better for you and for Stone, because God works in all things and his plan is perfect. And so if that happens tomorrow or 20 years from now or 10 days from now, know that he's got a bigger plan and purpose, and his plan and purpose is perfect. And that's what I want. And, of course, now you say, well, that's easy for you to say now, No, I said that then, and and I really meant it, because I know that his plan is perfect. And of course, I went through the surgery and everything went great. I got my career back, the whole 9 yards, and it turned out that way. It didn't necessarily have to be that way for me to be good with it. I was good with it, however. Same with the gold buckle. All those years I was close. I ended up second one year, ended up third another year. I came in the lead a few times right at the top, and got the rope last on the 10th go round. That means you're winning the world going into the last go round. I got to do that 3 or 4 times, and then eventually winning the world championship in the 10th go round, the way it happened, with Jennifer being able to tell me. I actually did not know that when Jennifer, I knew I'd won the average. Of course, I made the victory lap, and I'm stepping out of the arena right there. And when I saw her, she didn't tell me. I could tell by her reaction that I had won the gold buckle. And the crazy thing for us, and the cool thing for us, was that year it was on ESPN Live. And so the camera's rolling on her. All this was caught on tape. So it was cool for us to be able to experience it as a family, and for my family and my extended family, and then the people that, had followed me through my career. So it you really couldn't have got it. For me, that one probably, of course, that one meant everything to me.
Right. That, that's pretty impressive to see. I mean, again, that dynamic between you and your wife sitting on the sidelines as a commentator for every, not to be biased, but she's pulling more for one than the rest of the guys.
Absolutely.
But that's absolutely unreal. And then where did the STS deal start coming into play? Because the STS ranchwear is huge. That's in the Western world, especially now. So that's something that obviously you guys got a lot of passion about. Yes,
it's been, we started. STS actually started back in the, that was my original brand. Whenever I was back in the 90s, we were trying to think of, we had all these different endorsement deals with different companies, and we're trying to use, had some that was under my name, some that was under Horse's name, some that was double S, some was, Stran Smith. So we let's put one logo, one brand together, and let's promote that one brand. And one of my good friends that we had, I had done some business with in the past, Chad Fairchild, came to me and he said, "Let's make a lifestyle brand." And so we're like, "What do we name it?" Well, let's do it STS Ranchwear. And so STS had started in the 90s. We started STS Ranchwear in, I think, 2011. And so it's been one of those things that has. What do they say? It's been an overnight success in just a little over 10 years, Yeah. So it's kind of one of those things, but it has been a great blessing for me and my family. And just a little backstory on the STS. My middle name is T. I was named after my granddad, Will T. Well, whenever I was thinking of the logo, thought, okay, my middle name is T, but what's really the center of my life? Well, I try to keep Christ in the center, Jesus in the center. So let's make the T a cross. And that way I can relate, because on one side, there's an S on either side. Some days I'm the bad guy on the cross, and some days I'm the guy that said, "Hey, remember me when you come into your kingdom, Lord." So I can. It always keeps things in perspective for me. Every time I see that logo, it keep Christ in the center always. And so that's we started in 2011, and we started off with just a few leather jackets. And it's grown from that. And Jennifer said one day, "Hey, why don't y'all let me design a few handbags?" And we're like, well, me and Chad both like, we don't know anything about handbags. And So Jennifer started designing the handbags, and the handbag deal took off like crazy. And now it's about half of our company. And she hand draws every one of those bags on the computer. And so she picks out she's a left brain and a right brain. I live with the creator and the designer. So we have lots of swirly stuff. I'm a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guy. So we make it work like everybody does, but she designs every one of them from scratch. Wow. She picks out the leather. She picks out the length and she's a stickler for the details about each and every detail of those bags. And you can tell and how much better she's got through the years also. So that's where STS originated from. Where it's at now, we're based out of North Carolina, and that's kind of part of the reason for the concept store. We're going to carry all of our products, not as we're more of a concept to be able to come in and see everything that we have in the line at our store here in Childers.
Which includes cologne now. So tell us a little bit about that 1930 cologne.
Oh boy, yeah. That's one of those things that, we kind of swung for the fence when we started. We didn't want to just come out with a fragrance that's just something that's not a very high quality. I didn't know a lot about cologne, but I always used to have a saying, look good, feel good, rope good. Well, after I got a little bit older, it was look good, smell good, rope good. I threw the feel good out because I knew that wasn't going to happen anymore. So, but I've always been kind of a cologne snob. And so I knew exactly what I was looking for. I just needed somebody to help be able to create what I wanted. And we took a chance on trying to find a really good perfumist, someone that that knew what they were doing. So we call up a 77-year-old master perfumer from Long Island in New York, and he, for some reason, fell in love with the whole cowboy idea. I think they say he likes me. I think he just likes the idea that I'm a cowboy. And anyway, me and him hit it off right from the get-go. We developed these 2 fragrances and from scratch, and he took what I thought and he put his spin on it. And so now we've got 1930 black and 1930 crimson. So we got 2 fragrances out on the market, and it's, I'm pretty proud of them. They're definitely not they're not a cheap cologne. They're more high end fragrance.
Steve knows what he's going shopping for next.
Yeah. I'll just go. I can't, look good or rope good. I'll just go for smell good.
Yeah. So look here. This is what you call a prop. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's nice.
I got people that take care of me all the time here. They slid it in here. And listen, here's one little cool deal that I was so excited whenever this happened. When I got the first sample bottle, I ran out to my truck and I put it in the cup holder. This fits perfectly in the cup holder. That wasn't by accident. That was a little bit luck, but not really. So anyway, this is really cool. You can have it just sitting right in your car, your truck, where you can keeps it from getting away. Anyway, 1930 crimson.
All of that. Can you get that on website, or is that in the retail stores?
Yes, you can get that on our 1930 Remnant website, and you can get it also through STSranchwear.com.
Very nice.
And what do they say? The finer Western stores also are carrying. So there you go.
Perfect. Yeah. Stocking stuffer, Brylan.
There you go.
Stuffers.
There you go.
I'll check my list off. I'm making notes.
Coming soon. We have a new women's fragrance that should be coming out at the 1st of 2025. So, and let me tell you, when Jennifer, I know this is probably a family deal here. So, I really kind of warn her, don't put that on around me very often,
Yeah.
One of those deals. So
a lot of pheromones getting released.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. It's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah. That's positive.
Let's take a quick pause and we'll be right back. Looking for NFR video content and features? It's all in one place at /Las Vegas NFR. You will find unique features like the top 35 most memorable moments since 1985, the top 60 NFR contestants of all time, NFR champions recaps, custom NFR videos, and much more. You'll also find NFR performance recaps, insider tips, and interviews you might have missed along the way. Once you dive in, you'll find a lot more great content. There's something for all rodeo fans, because legacies and memories are made in Vegas.
And what about the podcast deal that's kicking off here pretty soon as well? And that's going to be in the store in Childress?
Yeah. This building is a 110-year-old building that we've been remodeling for 3 years now. And we had 2 rooms that were kind of off to the side. It started off as they tell me it started off a long time ago as a dairy. And then it morphed into a gas station / mechanic shop. Well, these 2 add-on rooms that are off to the one side that we really didn't know what we were going to use for other than maybe storage worked perfect for a podcast studio. So that's what we're with the book, with the editors and the publisher of the book. They're like, okay, so y'all really need to do a podcast, a Colonel and a Cowboy. That's the name of the book, is A Colonel and a Cowboy. And with your strategies and your wisdom needs to be, and bring in guests. And so I'm like, okay, we don't have anything else going. We might as well do a podcast also. So we have decided we're going to put this podcast studio in right there.
I love that.
Nice. Yeah, that's
I love
awesome.
the creativity behind every step of your life. Like, you've truly taken each individual aspect and made it something completely different. And I think that just shows the character that you are as a human.
Well, my wife sometimes, whenever I come in, so I go to the ranch. The ranch is about 20 miles from where we live, right just on the outskirts of Childress, and the ranch is out about 20 miles before you. And I go out there most every day. We also raise registered Angus bulls. So so I go out there most every day, and the whole time I'm out there, I don't have very good cell reception unless I'm up on a hill, and a lot of times I'm on a horse. And so it just gives me a lot of time to think, listen to great content, podcasts, teaching, books, and then I come back in and I just like throw up on her. She's like, whoa, slow down. Cause I've got, I'm out there for 4, 5, 6, maybe 8 hours, and I come back in, and in the first 15 minutes, I gave her, the synopsis and the summary of 3 books and 2 podcasts. And so she's like, whoa. So I do have a lot of time to think. And I guess that was part of I guess ever since I was a little kid, that's why rodeo worked so well for me. I absolutely, my most favorite time of the year was July and August, because not only are you trying to get to the rodeo you're competing where you're at, you're entering rodeos for 2 weeks in advance, and you're making plans for a month in advance. The whole time you're juggling. I've got another rig in Prescott, and I'm headed to Calgary, and I've got to get from Calgary. I get back to Pecos, and that horse is in Pecos. Oh, they had a blowout. And, all these different scenarios and 1 million things that are going wrong, and constantly just trying to be I love that part of the game of constantly keeping all the plates spinning and make sure that so we go around here. Jennifer gets up at 4 every morning, and that's a little earlier than I want to get up.
That's rough.
But I get up pretty quick after that, and so it's kind of one of those deals for me. I really don't like to go to bed. I don't like to sleep. I'm like, let's keep going. But you have to sleep. That's probably, if I had to say one of my blind spots, and I guess if it's I know it, then it's not a blind spot, is one of my weaknesses. I don't like to sleep. So but we'll do that one of these days. But it's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun around here.
I guess. Yeah, no kidding. If you're liking your life that much, why waste it by closing your eyes? So is Jennifer going to have a part of the podcast as well? Because it seems like she's a pretty intricate part in all things Stran Smith, especially with the creative side.
Yeah, that's probably been the greatest blessing of my lifetime, other than our children. And she had more to do with that than I did. But we have worked in every area of since we started dating, we have been, and then when we got married, we traveled together. She was doing the sideline reporting for ESPN and then on the other networks. And so she did that while I was rodeoing. We got into this business with STS Ranchwear. She's part of that. She's part of the store. Every part of our life, we intertwine it. I don't know what it's like to not work with my wife, and I wouldn't want it any other way. We do everything together. She's my best friend. We travel together. We don't miss anything that our kids do, whether it's singing in a little play or whether it's playing a sport. So she is going to be involved in the podcast because she definitely makes, I know she makes me look better. Always. She's always wants to be behind the scenes. She never wants to be in front of the camera, crazy as that sounds. She does so much stuff behind the scenes, and that's the way she wants it. And I'm like, no, but you're the professional here. I'm not. I'm just the monkey throwing the rope. And but she is going to be involved with it's going to be called A Colonel and a Cowboy with a Little Bit of Gin. That was Colonel. He insisted. He's like, oh, no. And he came up with the name, and he's like, oh yeah, we've got to do that. We've got to do that because, obviously she is the professional of the two of us. And so she does bring it just seems like she's always able to have that one word or that one interjection of being able to pull out what you're really trying to say. I watched her do that for years as she was, rodeo guys, whether we know it or not, rodeo guys are really not comfortable in front of the camera. They're not comfortable. We don't have a media trainer or someone that's training our. Now we've got these young men have got better. They've got so much better with social media and whatnot. But Billy Atbauer was not the most natural person in front of the camera. So it was great to watch her, how she could pull that stuff out of him and out of these cowboys that don't like to talk about themselves, and how she always made the story about who it really should be about. And that's about them and about their journey. And I think we have a lot to learn from a lot of the older generation of guys that rodeoed, of how they did it and how they were successful and how their work ethic and all the things that were the quality things about them. And I thought she always did a great job with that. And that's why we think that she's a must on our show.
Right. Well, that's like you were saying about the old, the older cowboys is the cell phones has completely changed the dynamic of, you listen to some of the, back in the day, as my son says, like back in the 80s. And I'm like, easy, bud, easy. But like, you didn't have, it was like, if there wasn't a payphone or if you called a number and somebody wasn't there, that's just how it went. So trying to figure out where your truck's at, or if they had a blowout. I mean, there was a time in rodeo where it's like, it's what it was, so like you said, how did you do that? And it does seem like we have a lot more things that are available to our access nowadays that just makes life more complicated, but more simple in a lot of aspects. I can go to, it's like, oh man, I'd love to, STS, I'd have to get their catalog mailed to me and then order online. And now it's like, or send an order to them or drive down to wherever they're at. But it's like, it's so easy now. Like it seems like it's so easy, but it's also complicates so much stuff.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy how technology has changed. I was just sitting there thinking, I knew when I started, their cell phones weren't in the early 90s. We didn't have you had the old bag phones and you didn't have those, but in sheer emergencies, unless you were unless you wanted to drop about $1,000.
Right. $800 phone call.
Yeah, exactly. So I knew where payphones were. I literally, in other states, I knew from whenever I was driving from one rodeo to the next, you were trying to photo finish, you need to be averaging about 70, 72 miles an hour to be able to make it to the next rodeo. Well, I knew we could pull over at this one certain spot and there was a cell phone there because we had to enter a rodeo before the books closed. And so it's crazy how that was just one more little variable that was thrown in that these guys nowadays, they don't have any idea about it, all that kind of stuff.
Well, and how many guys you talk to that are the young guys like, oh, shoot, I mean, and not to take away from their cowboy ability or their, performance ability, but it's like, oh, dad enters me or mom enters me. Or it's like, you don't even enter yourself. Like, but holy cow, like what's going on here? But
yeah, that was one of those things. Great. One of my, I think one of the greatest things for me that helped me in my rookie year in 94, I traveled with Herbert Theriault in 94. And he told me, he said, you're going to do all the entering. I'm like, I'm a rookie. I've been rodeoing here for about 4 months. He's like, figure it out. You're going to do all the entering. I'm like, oh my goodness. Well, if you remember that year, that's the year that Herbert won the world by like $14 or $15. I'm like, I had a little something to do with that.
Yeah. Not going to take all the credit, but a little.
Yeah, exactly.
I sprinkled a little
bit. Was the monkey throwing the rope? So there you
go. Do you got out of all the years of rodeo and everything else? Is there one either run or rodeo that stands out most to where it's like, man, this is the one that's like just a complete burn in your memory? Icon sort of a deal. Like this was it. Like,
I have tons of different memories. Of different things, different trips with different guys, different conversations that we had, different photo finishes that we pulled in. Me and Sean one year, we flew in from Pecos to Cody, and we actually, we roped at Pecos, Texas that morning in the slack. We got on the plane and we flew to Cody, and we roped that morning at Cody in the slack. And we literally, from the airport to the arena, Sean drove up on the sidewalk and went around traffic, went around cars to get to the arena. And when we got to the arena, we didn't have time to pull in the gate. We pulled up to the fence and they threw a coat over the fence because it had the barbed wire on the fence. We jumped over the fence and ran because they had my horse standing in the box. I jumped over the back of the box. I didn't even step in the stirrup. I jumped over the box and hit in the saddle. And the judge is saying, we're turning him out. We're turning him out. And they're like, he's here. He's here. So they kind of gave a countdown, he's got 2 minutes. So I jumped over, tucked my jerk line in, put my string in my mouth. They had the rope tied on, and I roped. And then Sean followed right behind me. I broke the barrier to win Cody. He won Cody that year. So it was like, that was one of the deals, and then of course for me, the highlight of my career was of course in the 10th go round in 2008, winning the world. But another one that was probably almost as big as that at the time, it was the most important run I'd ever made. It was the Texas Stampede, the first year they had that in Dallas. Cody went right in front of me and he broke the world record. And I think it was 6'7". Well, for me to make the finals, I had to tie him or beat him to make the finals that year. So this is the last calf of the year. I'm the last roper. I back in there. And you can imagine that place was just electric. I tied my calf in 6'7", ended up winning it, and went ahead and made the finals that year. We both tied the arena record, our world record, and that was at that time. That was probably the highlight of my career. But there's so many different trips that I probably can't tell to because I don't want my boys to be here to hear how fast I was driving. The Chris Ledoux song, "If I Could Do It Again," drove so slow. That was kind of. I never did have very many of those trips because I don't think I ever got turned out. I got to nearly every one of them, but we had a few photo finishes that was definitely a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
We've covered a lot of grounds here, but before we get any further, I want to travel back into the Thomas and Mack Arena because you get to make your way back in with your daughter this year on the 10th of December to listen to her open the NFR as the national anthem singer. What is going through her brain? What's going through your guys' brain as a family?
Oh my goodness. She just, her name is Selah, and we named her after the Selah in the Bible, Selah. That's the way God spelled it. And that's the way Jennifer said, we're going to spell it. And so, she is our true little completion. We have two sons that we're so proud of. They're just turned into such men of God and just they're my heroes really. But our little girl she's all of our little girls. She's just, and I know I'm partial because she's mine, but she is. Jennifer always says, "When are you going to spank her?" I said, "Well, whenever she needs it, I'll spank her."
So never.
She's perfect in my eyes, and we're just so excited. She's just her little heart is just so pure, and she loves to sing. She loves animals. She is the perfect version of Jennifer. I had a friend tell me one time, he said, "I know y'all are weird with Claus," and that's the vet that does all the horse cloning. He said, "Y'all cloned Jennifer, didn't you?" She's so much like her mother. It's crazy. It's just, I'm so excited for her. And she's just, she doesn't, crazy thing is as quiet and as timid as she is, she's a little animal. I mean, this morning I was following her. She got up this morning because her legs hurt yesterday. And on her own, she gets up this morning and before the sun comes up and says, "Listen, I need to run." So I drove the gator. I didn't run with her. And she went for a 2-mile run. And I think she ran 2 miles this morning in about 13 minutes. Jeez. That's just like, who are you? You think you see as your little petite, little real reserved but she's an animal. I used to tell her when she was little bitty, I'd tell her, I said, you eat pain for breakfast. And she lived, "I eat pain for breakfast," and I'm like, oh my gosh, we created an animal with this one. So, but we're so proud of her and so excited to get to see her and come back to Thomas Mack and be, a part of that with Tuff's the only one of our bunch now that still rodeos. And so, we're going to be excited to get to watch him rope out there this year, and just excited to get to come back and see the people that be around the people that are the dearest, that I think are the best people in the entire world, are the people in the Western industry. And you say, well, you're a little partial. Yeah, but I've seen a lot of other parts of the world too. But I really think that the Western industry is what America is really built around, and really what we stand for here in America, I believe.
Right. How old is your daughter?
She's 13.
13. Okay. Yeah.
Sir.
You think she's going to go into the dark teenage things, or is she just going to keep eating that pain for breakfast? And
man, I'll tell you what, we're waiting for it to hit her, but it has not. She's Jennifer says that I've brainwashed her about, she doesn't even talk about boys. She's never sassed anybody.
Perfect.
She's just, I'm like, where did she come from? Well, I know where she came from. She's a result of Jennifer. Jennifer, in my opinion, now, of course, I'm partial again, but she's about as close to perfect as I've ever seen a human be. So she just got such a giving, loving heart that she's constantly thinking of others before herself and speaking life on people. It's just amazing to get to watch these people live out life and walk it out with them.
Yeah, that's awesome. The daughter, the spanking them thing. Our youngest is a little girl, and she's almost 8 years old now. I'm like, I can spank her. I could definitely spank her. And even like she started laughing. She's like, you could never. I'm like, I'll spank you. I'm like, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have never said that. It's my mistake. But yeah, no, it's an incredible blessing. And that's, it goes by fast, man. I mean, life goes by fast for us. And I'm sure, Stran, you're probably the same way as Troy. You look at like 10 years ago, where you're at as a human. It's like, you develop maybe a little bit, but you don't really change a whole lot besides getting a little bit older. But you watch 10 years on a kid where Selah was 10 years ago, from 3 to 8 to 13, it's like, holy cow, like where did that go? And next thing you know, but I don't know. It's crazy, man.
It's crazy because it's, I've got my oldest son's 21 and he's going to get married in December.
Holy cow.
So I'm like, he's going to graduate from college and they're going to get married. And we have found a true extension of our family. His fiance is just, when I met her, I said, Stone, if you mess this up, we're keeping her and we're going to let you go. But we're just so proud of both our sons. They're both in Abilene. One of them's on a collegiate scholarship on the track team. He throws the disc and hammer, and the other one is a baseball player, plays for McMurray, and he's a freshman this year. So we're so excited to watch their lives and careers develop and where God's using them and taking them, and just to see what kind of men they've turned into and how, I'm not going to, this is definitely, I think Jennifer has had more to do with raising our children than I have as far as the positive influence. I've showed them a lot of things, what not to do. She's been there to kind of help put the pieces together and tell them, the life lessons in it. But we're so blessed to have 3 children that are so different, but the bond between the 3 of them, how close they are, and just my 2 sons being they're best friends, and just to watch that, be able to watch that and see how that get to watch them chase their dreams now. It's just
awesome
thing, and probably the highlight of my life for sure.
Yeah. Well, Stran, I really appreciate you taking the time to visit with us here, and I know you're a busy man, and you've obviously got a lot of irons in the fire. So thank you very much. And we look forward to seeing you guys in Las Vegas and tearing it up.
Yes, sir. Well, Steve, thanks you for having us. And we'll definitely get together out there. We'll do it again. Yes, sir. Y'all have to come on a Colonel and a Cowboy with a little bit of gin whenever we get up and rolling.
Yes, sir. Anytime. Absolutely. Sounds good.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, thank you very much, Stran. God bless you and have a good day.
Thank you.
Want to experience more of the NFR? Then visit NFRexperience.com, and we invite you to subscribe to NFR Extra on Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever you're listening right now. If you like what you've heard on NFR Extra, we would love it if you gave us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe.